All right, good evening. Welcome. Yes, that's yours. Thank you for sitting through the little photo session. This is being recorded in case you didn't realize. Welcome. This is our first time that we're doing a economic crimes informational for the community, and we're very happy for those of you who decided to take the time out of your day to come here and spend it with us. Obviously, fraud, scams, and crimes have increased tremendously over the years. And just to give you a little bit of history, you know, I've been here since '97 when we started, and we've always had a detective bureau, and every detective has always been able to investigate any crime from homicides all the way down to simple thefts. And whenever we'd have a fraud, they were always complicated because it involved a lot of paperwork and trying to figure out the finances. But they weren't as often and they weren't as intricate as they've become. We've gotten to a point now with the advent of computers and phones and voice synthesizers and AI, and it doesn't stop, where fraud has increased exponentially, almost faster than law enforcement can keep up. Where now we still have a detective bureau, but I actually have a separate unit, which is our economics crimes unit, because we had so many frauds that we had to have detectives dedicated to just handling the frauds because they became more prevalent and they became way more complicated. And it's amazing, just when you think you've seen everything, a criminal will figure something else out and you shake your head and you're like, wow, I never thought I'd see that, but yet we do. And, we're here to protect the citizens of Aventura physically, out in the world, and making sure that you can live here and eat and play, but also we're here to protect you from these predators who use the phone and use the computer and use different ways to try to take your hard-earned money away from you. And some of the stories are just so sad of what people have lost, and we try to get ahead of it. We try to recover as much as we can to offset the loss, but really it's very hard to come back from it. The detectives that we have are amazing, and they'll be introduced to you. You could see we have our mayor here tonight, Commissioner Bloom, who spearheaded tonight's event. Commissioner Ain is here, and we have Commissioner Blanchman as well. Thank you very much. And I think that's all the commissioners. I want to make sure. So they care just as much as we do about making sure that the citizens of Aventura get top-class service in every aspect, and that's especially here in regards to fraud. So we do an amazing job. Our detectives are phenomenal at what they do, and they'll give you a great lesson tonight on what they do and how to avoid these scams. But I'll give you one more little tidbit. When we would do frauds back in the day, everything was paper, and it was very meticulous and having to go through the paper. There is so much to look through now, and we've invested a lot, not just in the detectives, but in software to help us out, and Detective Seeley came up and was like, listen, as good as I am, it's a lot. I mean, sometimes we cart out boxes and boxes and boxes, and we have to figure out what all this is. So we invested in, large-scale programs where we're able to scan all these documents in, and the computer is able to start looking at the big picture and putting the spider web together and helping us connect those dots faster so we can get to the individuals quicker and place them under arrest. So we're doing everything we can. We have the support of our city manager, our mayor, our commissioners, in what we do here in our mission. And we're going to continue working hard and trying to stay one step ahead of the bad guy. That's the name of the game. So with that, I will pass this on. I believe it's the mayor. The mayor will speak first, and then Commissioner Bloom will be giving the introduction to our detectives who will be giving you tonight's explanation. So thank you again. Our doors are always open to you. We're here to serve you, and that's our job. Thank you.
Hi, folks. Good evening. Just going to give you a couple anecdotes, but I want you to know that if you know me, you know that I love to take credit for stuff. It's like my favorite thing, tell you how great things are because I did something. But I also hate to take credit if it's not deserved, and this is not me. This is not something that I will take credit for. This is amazing. This is so important, and really, Commissioner Bloom is probably the main reason that this is happening. The other main reason this is happening is because the Aventura Police Department is ahead of the curve on this stuff. This is what I call non-traditional police work, right? This is not pulling you over. This is not investigating a crime, investigating a robbery, taking fingerprints. This is the kind of stuff that is so labor intensive and takes such specialized skills. And we are super fortunate that we have the manpower and the woman power to get this done. So in Aventura, this isn't even something that's that new. When condominium associations, when residents come to the police department and say, our condo association is corrupt, okay? Everybody says the same thing, right? But when you show some kind of evidence, or you show that maybe there's something there, maybe there's some smoke and maybe there's some fire, our police department takes it seriously. I'm sure you know that there was someone arrested this past year as a result of this kind of police work. Very difficult work. I just want to urge you and to tell your neighbors that oftentimes it's when you happen to suspect something in the condominium environment. And very recently, which most of you probably don't know about, at one of our condominiums, the property manager was doing a reconciliation and felt like something wasn't right and discovered, she thought that one of the vendors that the association hired to do work every week might be somehow stealing money. But the board never suspected anything because it was small amounts. Small amounts add up to be larger amounts. It was the people's money who live in the building. She came to the Aventura Police Department and they did the investigation. And not only was it confirmed, but it turns out that wasn't the only building. But at another building in Aventura where the same thing was happening, nobody suspected a thing. So it's like the old see something, say something. If you think that there might be wrongdoing, and it doesn't mean there is, but you don't have to be silent, at least not in Aventura. So having said that, I want to turn it over to Commissioner Bloom, who really, this is her passion project. And when she's been involved with our police department, acting as a bridge between our residents and our police department so that everyone works together and is rowing in the same direction. So having said that, thank you for being here, and Commissioner Bloom.
Obviously, I'm not Commissioner Bloom, but I had to point out, in the back is Captain Andy Smith, who's the captain in charge of our Detective Bureau, and Major Anna Howell was here. She may have stepped out. Oh, there she is right there. Perfect. That's the major who runs the division. And we also have Detective Blackburn in the back, who's here to provide support as well. So it is a group effort when we all work, but these are the tip of the spear when it comes to fraud. So with that, Commissioner Bloom.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Amit Bloom. Thank you all for being here. It's very loud. Okay, so I wanted to start off with a quick story. My mom loves playing solitaire and jigsaw puzzles on the computer. That's her favorite pastime. She has a Mac, and she's very proud of the fact that she's on a Mac and she plays her little games. And a few months ago, she called me in a panic. While she was working on a puzzle, all of a sudden her screen went blank and this warning alarm came on her screen and told her she had a virus. So she panicked and thankfully called me. Instead of following the instructions on the screen, I walked her through what she needed to do, how to get out of that screen before she gave away any compromising information or personal information or anything that would have gotten her in trouble. So gratefully, there was no harm done. But that experience got me thinking. How many residents here in Aventura don't have someone that they can call when something like that happens? Or worse, how many people wouldn't even realize that they had been targeted until it was too late? A recent report, and this is a little alarming, a recent report from the FBI shows that seniors lost $4.8 billion to scammers in 2024. Florida, home to almost 5 million seniors, ranked third in the nation for the number of complaints and total losses per victim. It's concerning. So that's why I approached our city manager and our wonderful men and women in blue to put together this town hall today. In today's AI-driven world, scams are becoming much more sophisticated, much more frequent, and much more harder to spot. So this fraud awareness seminar is designed to give you the tools and the knowledge you need to recognize, prevent, and report fraud effectively. So thank you for being here tonight and taking the time to protect yourself and your community. With that, I want to introduce you to our very own rock star fraud specialists, Detective Ken Seeley and Detective Sandy Marquez bring together over 36 years of combined law enforcement experience and currently serve in the Specialized Economic Crimes Unit. Both of them are sworn federal task force officers with a proven track record of successfully investigating and prosecuting complex fraud schemes. They are highly respected in the field of fraud investigations. They have received multiple local and federal awards, recognizing their expertise, their dedication, and outstanding contributions to combating financial crimes. So it is my honor to introduce you to Detective Ken Seeley and Detective Sandy Marquez.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Again, Detective Marquez. I will do most of the speaking. She will handle most of the questions and answers afterwards. We tag team. As soon as the PowerPoint can go up on it. Okay. So again, as I said, we're part of the Specialized and Economic Crimes Unit. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a background on the unit, a little bit of the background on the work that we do, some of the current fraud trends that we seem to deal with more often than not, and then as well as some pointers and some advice on how to protect yourself moving forward. All right, so again, our particular unit was established in 2019. We currently have 2 full-time detectives, which is Detective Marquez and myself. Detective Marquez is sworn as a federal task force officer with the United States Secret Service as well. And I am sworn in as a task force officer with both the United States Secret Service as well as Homeland Security investigations. So the dual certification roles allows us to not only prosecute cases on the state level, but also move for federal prosecution if it's related to the case that we're working. And it also provides us additional help if our case should take us outside of the state of Florida. We can call in additional resources to help us work it. That's me, that semi-handsome guy. I've been here for 21 years. For the last 11 years, I've been assigned to some form of our investigations unit between crime suppression as well as general investigations. I have been a task force officer with the IRS, currently Secret Service and HSI. We're both members of the International Association of Financial Crimes Investigators. We both received the 2019 U.S. Attorney General's Award for Distinguished Service related to fraud investigations, as well as various other awards. This is the beautiful Sandra Marquez. She made sure I picked her favorite picture. Okay. All right, so as a whole, our mission is to conduct investigations into all manners of fraud-related activity occurring within the city, which targets any of our businesses and any of our residents. And we take that very seriously. That includes identity theft, credit card fraud, organized fraud, condo fraud-related complaints. Again, if you have an issue with your condominium association, Typically, what I'll do is we'll set up an appointment for you to come and sit down with us so we can understand what you have going on and try to see if it's, again, a civil matter, a criminal matter, and how to better direct you moving forward with that. All right. Again, we will use every available resource at our disposal to investigate and prosecute anyone who targets our citizens or our businesses. All right. Again, just so you have an understanding of what we do and some of the cases that we worked, in 2021, we did work a grandparent scam. So we identified a ring of several individuals who resided both in and outside of the city of Aventura, who were targeting elderly individuals, both here in the state of Florida, as well as 12 other states across the nation. We were able to work that investigation, executing multiple search warrants, obtain multiple arrest warrants, ultimately end up arresting several individuals who were linked to a little over $500,000 worth of theft from various victims across the country. We had a success rate of recovering just about 80% of that money for most of the victims. So most of the victims were made whole in that case. All right. So as we all know, unfortunately, in 2021, there was the Surfside Tower collapse. Following that tower collapse, there were several individuals, because criminals are criminals, so they ended up stealing the identity of some of the victims of that tower collapse. The stolen identities were then used here in the city of Aventura, primarily around the mall and other businesses, in order to conduct transactions. So Detective Marquez here, who took it extremely personal, then began to work that investigation up. Within 90 days, we were able to identify all 4 targets that were associated with that, coordinated with various agencies, the U.S. Marshals, Miami-Dade County Sheriff's Office, Secret Service, Postal, the U.S. Attorney's Office, as well as the State Attorney's Office. And we were able to execute search warrants and arrest warrants on all of those individuals who are in custody and awaiting state sentencing. We also discovered additional federal crimes related to that, so they were indicted federally as well for other crimes, and they have all been sentenced on the federal case to anywhere between 2 years to 16 years at this point. Okay. So fraud is a constantly evolving landscape. It's something that it's never the exact same thing as you go year to year. Our criminals, as technology grows, so does our criminals and their knowledge, okay? And unfortunately, our criminals seem to get younger and younger because this generation has grown up with technology, so they are very tech savvy. So they know how to leverage that technology for their benefit. And unfortunately, it's the wrong side of the fence benefit. All right, so we do go to constant training every year so we can stay upfront with new trends and technology. And that training is from both local agencies, the police department, Secret Service, Homeland Security, the U.S. Attorney's Office, different banks and things to that effect. Again, we want to stay up on all the trends so that we're able to address whatever's coming. Our chief has been very supportive every time we've come to our command, our major, our captain, said, hey, there's a new training coming up. This is a new thing that's going on. We would like to go and learn it. They allow us to use it, mainly because they know we will now execute and utilize that within our investigations. All right. So enforcement actions, we are a proactive squad when we have the time to be proactive. So we do get up, we will go out, and we will hunt down individuals that we know are into crimes related to identity theft and fraud. We have worked with our federal partners in doing purchases, what we call undercover purchases of stolen identities, in furtherance of our investigations as well. All right, we've executed vehicle warrants, electronic warrants, email, social media, phones, laptops, residential warrants. We actually just did one this past week. All right, and the detectives of this unit are our most experienced with residential warrants and warrants as a whole. I think last year we probably averaged about 100 warrants throughout the year that we authored and executed. Yeah. And then that's us having a little bit of fun being out of the office. This is a warrant that we executed with the assistance of Miami-Dade's special response team. So again, we get those resources and we get a lot of help. We are blessed that we are able to pick up the phone and almost on a drop of a dime, Miami-Dade's special response team will assist us in executing a warrant if we're in Miami-Dade's jurisdiction without us having to wait 2 to 3 weeks like most of their own officers have to wait. Again, we build relationships so we can get things executed. All right, so the good stuff, the fraud landscape part of it. All right, this is what the numbers are for fraud. In 2007, the Federal Trade Commission received reports indicating $1.2 million in fraud-related losses across the nation. All right, 32% of those were identity theft-related complaints. Now, you jump ahead into 2023, those losses went up to $10 billion in fraud losses across the United States. All right, 50% of that, which is about 2.7 mil, were related to fraud reports, directly identity theft, bank account takeovers, things to that effect. All right, 20% of that, the scam victims in those cases reported actually suffering a financial loss. All right, so they do classify it differently as from if you lose money or if you don't. Lucky enough, not every single scheme our victims lose money. All right, but however, in 2024, you're looking at $12.5 billion in fraud losses. All right, that increase was not driven by the amount of victims. It was driven because in 2024, more victims reported actually losing money to the schemes. All right, that indicates that they're getting better. They're getting better at acquiring the money. They're getting better at the social engineering of trying to get individuals to give access to their personal data to get into their accounts, okay? So if nothing else, now we need to be more vigilant about our information and how we're moving about in order to protect your money. All right. So a lot of what we're dealing with today, old school fraud, checks, maybe credit card skimming, all right? The newer school fraud, you're dealing with checks, credit cards, identity theft, synthetic ID fraud, SIM swapping, account takeovers, spoofing. The BEC refers to business email compromises, crypto scams, obviously grandparent scams, and business ID takeovers. All right, we could be here for about, 5 days, me trying to explain every one of these blocks, all right, because they do go very well in depth. But what I'll tell you is the ones that we want everybody to look out for is one, the SIM swapping, all right, and basically a quick explanation of that. When you go to the store, you buy a new phone, and they port your information over to the new phone. They take your SIM out, they put it in a new phone. That's what they call SIM swapping. All right, so what happens is if a subject gets your information, they can call your carrier, or not call your carrier, they'll call a different carrier. So if I have AT&T, they're gonna call Verizon. All right, and they'll tell them, hey, I am you, and I want to port my number over to a new phone. Now that carrier will move everything over. What you have to understand is your phone, most people's phone, controls a lot of things in their life. All right, so once you start porting things over, I go to Google, Google's gonna automatically recognize that number. I don't have to know your email. Okay, it will recognize the number and it will send me a recovery code. Everything will then start uploading on my phone once I use that recovery code. Now, once I have access to your email, I can start looking through your old emails and I can figure out who you bank with. I can figure out what companies you might work for. And then I start using that information to work my way into everything else. If I know you bank with Chase Bank, I download the Chase Banking app. I forgot my username or password. What's gonna happen? It's gonna send me an access code. That access code is going to my phone number, that the subject now controls that number. Right? Because I moved it over to a new carrier, it's gonna take you at least 24 hours to get that number paused and maybe a couple of days to get it transferred back over. All right, so what we normally recommend, contact your phone carrier, ask them to put a code, be it a written code, like a number code or a letter code on your account, so that way no one can move or port your number over without that access code. All right, and then try not to put that access code anywhere like in an email or move it around, because people do know how to do keyword searches, okay? Account takeovers, that is typically when an individual gets access to your personal information, gets into your bank account via either online or over the phone, and manages to start wiring funds out of your account. I think the biggest way that we see that happening nowadays is because individuals give remote access to their computers. So as the commissioner was saying a little earlier, where her mother was looking at her computer and then all of a sudden it popped up with a virus, a lot of times that will come up with an 800 number. Call this 800 number or click on this link for assistance. When you click on that link or you call that 800 number, you're gonna get the bad actor. And then they're gonna start, oh yeah, we're gonna help you, we'll help you figure this out. And then they're gonna walk you through providing remote access to your computer. Once they get that remote access, they now have the ability to go through your computer completely. A lot of times they'll fix your computer right there for you. Everything will be good. And in the middle of the night while you're sleeping, they're logging back into your system, if you have your password for your bank account saved, then I don't have to do anything. I just click on your bank account and it's gonna load it up for me and I can move your money. All right, an issue with that for many people that you find, unfortunately, the bank sees your IP address, the bank sees your computer ID as doing that transaction, and it is extremely hard at that point to convince the bank to give you your money back. All right, so that's another one that we say you have to be very careful of. Spoofing, I'll go over a little bit later as we go in. Business email compromises can happen on both sides of the house, all right? So especially if you own a business, you want to be very, very aware and very careful of it. Constantly check to see the folders that you have, what's in those folders, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but you can set up commands for your email system to move certain things into certain folders. Can't remember the technical term right now, I apologize. But look through that, check your settings, and see if you have anything that's set automatically to move. Because what a subject will do is they will go into your email, and if, let's say you're in real estate, and they see that you have a closing coming up, they're gonna do is they're gonna see who that broker is that's arranging the closing. They will set up a new hidden folder. They will have everything command to move any emails coming into that hidden folder, so you don't see it. Every time that they log into your system, they will look at that hidden folder. They will send responses back to the other side of the house, redirecting where they want the funds to go. All the while, you're figuring you're good because you're getting now emails that your subjects are sending from a fake email address to make it look like it's the original sender. All right. Again, technology has grown. Our subjects have grown with this technology. They know how to move it around. So we have to be a little bit more careful when we're moving around and we're moving businesses, and never agree to move money just off of an email. Pick up the phone and call, especially if there's any change in instructions or what bank account it's supposed to go to. All right, crypto scams, what I'll tell you is be very, 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 very careful with crypto. Okay, protect your passwords. If you have crypto, protect the account. I don't care if it happens to be someone saying that they're from Coinbase calling you and that there was an issue and they're asking you to verify and confirm certain things. If you did not pick up that phone and call them at a number that you've dealt with Coinbase before, hang up. Hang up. Call back customer service at the number you know and now speak with them. 95% of that time, if not 98% of the time, you're gonna find out they never called you. There's not an issue with your account. But if you stay on that phone and you accidentally start giving them information that will allow them to get access to your system or into your crypto wallet, once that crypto moves, you have less than a 1% chance of that money being recovered. Okay, that crypto typically will move overseas. And while we can trace the movement of crypto, once it goes to a wallet that's overseas, we are asking them to give it back to us. And the company doesn't need to give it back to us. Even if we get a search warrant, we can get a seizure warrant. It is a foreign country. It is a foreign registered business. It is, all we're doing is saying, can you please give it back? And most of the time, they're not going to give it back, not because they're bad people, but because they have their own customers. They have their own laws, and we're not part of that system. All right, so it is imperative that we protect ourselves when it comes to that. All right, and then I'll touch on a few of the other things as we're going through. All right. Again, some of the more common scams that we're dealing with at this point in time, as I said, the spoofing text. I think everyone here has gotten that text message saying it's from your bank, Wells Fargo, Chase, and they want to verify your fraudulent transaction. And you find yourself looking at your phone saying, I don't even have that bank. All right, that's the beginning of a spoofing scam. What happens is they have a robo-computer, they send out a ton of these text messages, someone will eventually respond to it, then all of a sudden you'll get a phone call from an individual who's sitting down with a piece of paper that has a typed out script to make it sound like they're officially from the bank. And they're going to explain to you, yeah, we just need to verify this fraud charge on your account for $483 at a Walmart in Texas. You're gonna say, that wasn't me. Okay, no problem, just hang on a minute while we get everything set up. Please verify your username. I need you to verify the code that we're about to send to you. Well, what happens is when you verify their username, they punch your username onto the website for Chase Bank. And then they hit forgot password. And then you're gonna get a text message with the code. So to reset the password. You're going to give that to them, thinking it's them sending you a verification code. Now they're into your system. Now they're going to pull up your account, and they're going to read off a couple of other legitimate and valid charges on your account, and then they're going to bring back this fraudulent Walmart charge. And then they're going to tell you, okay, we're going to go ahead and shut down your account for the next 24 hours, or issue out new cards, you'll get it in the mail shortly and everything else. Why? Because if I'm telling you that you're not going to have access online for 24 hours, you're likely not going to look online for the next 24 hours. All right, I can go into your settings, I can stop any text messages or transaction notifications, and then I can just start Zelling or wire transferring the money out of your account. And the next day, when you go to look at it and you realize, oh my God, all my money's gone, you're kind of stuck out there and left at that moment, right? So that's one of the reasons, again, if you get a phone call like that or a text message, no matter what they're telling you, okay, I'll take down all your information, your name, your employee ID number, the phone number to call you back, the date and time of the transaction, no problem, and hang up. Pull out your debit card, pull out your credit card, look on the back of it, call that 800 number, and then ask them to verify if these transactions ever really occurred. Okay, most of the time, you're gonna find out that it never happened. All right. We're seeing a massive increase in investment scams. All right. If the biggest thing is a lot of times it's people we've known for years. All right, we may not be best of friends, but we're familiar with them. And because we're familiar with them, we feel a little bit more trusting in giving up money and investing in items. All right. You gotta, one, learn to make sure you're vetting this investment, vet the individual. Are they licensed to be offering commodities? All right, look at their background. Have they had issues with this in the past? Because a lot of the subjects we come across have been previously arrested in other states for these same type of investment scams. And a lot of our victims, unfortunately, don't start doing that research until now they're a victim of a scam themselves. So what I'll tell you is if you're thinking about investing in anything with anybody, please research them before you ever send a dime or a dollar. All right, and then also research what you're looking to invest in. Don't just take an individual's word for it. All right, and the best business advice, always invest under a contract, never by just simply a verbal agreement. All right, it is very hard for us to prove verbal agreement situations, and a lot of times we're forced to just refer those to as a civil matter, and you'd have to sue them civilly. Okay. Fake employment scams. All right, we see a lot of people who go online, they end up applying for jobs online, they then get a phone call for their interview, they then get hired. And then all of a sudden you're getting a check in the mail for $10,000, and out of that $10,000, cash it in your account. You gotta send $3,000 to this place for a computer, send $2,000 for this place for the first set of supplies workup, and then you keep the other $5,000 as part of your original pay and your advance and your bonus. Well, what happens is you deposit this check, you turn around and disperse the $5,000 where you were directed to, and a week later the bank comes back and says, hey, the check is fraudulent. So now your account is shut down because now you've cashed a fraudulent check and you are out $5,000 in cash. And if you spent any of the other $5,000 that was left over, you're out that money as well, and the bank's gonna hold you responsible for it, right? So no job is typically going to send you a check to tell you to cash it and now start doing everything else. Just say no. If you have a relative, especially now, young ones, grandsons, children that may be graduating high school, in college, on summer break, trying to make some extra money, tell them no, that is not going to be a valid job. They're going to end up stuck owing money, all right? Again, we kind of went over business email compromises. What I'll tell you is be very careful clicking on any email that comes in with a link, all right? Double check the email address, because typically what happens is that email address is off by at least one letter or one digit from the legitimate person's email. Don't take it for granted. All right, we've seen, I think the more recent one that I got this past week was a little over $700,000, all right, moved just because they got an email. And the only difference was it was 2 I's instead of 1 I in the email address, all right, and they just overlooked it. So you gotta be very, very careful. And if you're being asked to change deposit information or deposit instructions, pick up that phone and call the person you know personally that you deal with to verify before you move any of that money around. Because once you send it again on a wire, you typically have about 45 minutes to recall it, but that's not always a guarantee. And if you don't recall it within that 45 minutes, it's going to become available to the subject, and they're going to move that money real fast. And now by the time we start hopping different banks and try to trace it, Again, every bank it moves to lowers the chances of us actually recovering the funds. And even if I identify a subject, I can't guarantee you getting your money back at that point, okay? And then we're also seeing a large targeting now of government benefits, so food stamps, health, the health accounts, the HSA, FSA accounts, your retirement accounts, those are being heavily targeted now. All right, we are seeing individuals stealing the FSA account information and going to like eyeglass stores and buying designer iframes to be resold. All right, so those are other things that I'll tell you, if they have it like I have it, and I'll be honest with you, until recently, I hadn't been looking at it like that. All right, it's there, I know it's there, when I need it, I'll grab it. Well, now I look at it at least once a week just to see the balance on the account and make sure it hasn't been used and that account number hasn't been compromised. The same thing with your retirement accounts. Take the time, make sure, don't just wait until the end of the 30 days when you get your statement. Take a look at it and see. Make sure notifications are set on the account. So if anything happens, I'm getting a text and I'm getting an email, right? So if any movements, any attempts, I know right away and I can address it and deal with it. Please do not rest on the fact of the belief that I'm being the victim of the scam and the bank will give me my money back automatically. That is no longer the way it's working now. The banks are scrutinizing everything. And if you had any portion of what they consider to be complacency in that loss, they're not just directly giving you the money back, or they're only giving you a portion of the money back. So please stay on top of it. Watch your accounts, keep an eye on your accounts to make sure that you're good to go. Okay. Again, some of the other things that we see, scams from FPL, call and text messages, Xfinity, jury duty warrants. No police department in the world is going to call you or text you that you have a warrant for your arrest. And that the way of getting out of that warrant is to send us $1,000 and we'll get the warrant vacated, all right? No police department in the world is gonna accept gift cards, Google gift cards, or Visa gift card numbers. It's just not going to happen, all right? If we have a warrant for you, you're going to see somebody knocking at your door, typically in uniform, to let you know you have an arrest warrant, okay? You might get a certified letter in the mail saying, hey, you need to contact your local police department or this or stuff like that, but normally we're coming in person, all right? It's not gonna be a phone call, it's not gonna be a text, and you can't make a payment over the phone to get a warrant vacated. It has to go in front of a judge to vacate that warrant, okay? And you can always call the local sheriff's department and they can verify if a warrant exists or not, okay? Cash app scams, so what we also see now is individuals are receiving cash app deposits from numbers that they don't know. And then they're getting text messages saying, hey, I accidentally sent you $500. Can you please send me my money back? All right, so individuals, again, I see a $500 deposit. Oops, no problem, I send you your $500 back. Then all of a sudden, within 48 hours, your account is overdrawn or down $500 more. All right, there are ways of fooling the system where I can set up a transfer that's not really a transfer, the funds are not really there. And so it hasn't fully credited to that account. So now, once the system realizes that the funds were never there and it never fully accredited, you didn't send somebody back $500, you just sent them $500. All right, so what we normally tell people to do, and you have a couple of different ways that you can deal with it, but I'm gonna wait 48 hours until that money settles into my account. And then, hey, you can meet me at the local police department and I can arrange to give you back your money in cash. Or I can take this money and just go down to the police department and give it to them because I don't want to have an issue and I'll tell you where to go get it from. But I'm not sending you anything back because if that first transaction turns out to be a fraudulent transaction, that bank that sent it is going to pull that money back. And then you're still going to be out that $500 situation, okay? Again, I'm sure we've seen it on the news, SunPass and e-toll scams, getting a text message that you owe money on SunPass or your vehicle registration. Again, you're not going to get those in a text message. SunPass is going to send you a hard letter in the mail, letting you know what your toll violations are and what you owe them in order to get it fixed. And then you just have to go down to the tag agency or you can pay that online, all right? Again, I said bank reps call scam accounts being compromised. If they're calling you, I don't trust it. All right, don't trust the caller ID. Caller IDs can be changed. They can be manipulated now. There are thousands of apps that I can download to put whatever number and whatever name I want to show up on your caller ID. I can call you right now from my cell phone and make it say Aventura Police Department. All right, so don't trust your caller ID. Take the information down, don't give any information back. Take the information down, hang up the phone and call your bank at the number on the back of your credit card or debit card, or go to your local branch, all right? I know sometimes these things are inconvenient, but it's way more inconvenient to lose $1,000 than it is for me to pick up the phone and call my bank at my 800 number, all right? And then we've also had several instances of phone scams that are targeting our elderly, where I convince you, for whatever reason, you might have that warrant, or maybe you were in a crash somewhere else and now you're gonna get sued, but I can help settle this issue if you give me, $3,000. I'm gonna send somebody to your house to pick that money up. And what will happen is you'll have an Uber or Lyft driver, because both of them now offer package pickup and courier services. They'll send them to pick up a package. They don't have a clue it's your money. They don't know if that's part of a scam. They're just doing their job. So they're coming to pick up a package and go deliver it somewhere else. And now that money just completely disappears, right? Or a bankrupt's gonna come to your house to get your debit cards and your credit cards because your account was compromised. No bank is sending any reps to anybody's houses to pick up credit cards and debit cards, all right? So again, if these things happen, take a moment, take a breather, don't get flustered, don't rush to solve this issue. Pick up the phone, call a relative, kind of walk them through it, pick up the phone, call the police department. We can send an officer and we can sit down and help go through the information to see if this is legit. Or you can call your bank again if it's a bank-related issue. And 98% of the time, if not 100, you're gonna find out that that phone call is completely fraudulent, okay? The number one question I think we can admit that we always get is, how did they get my information? How is my information compromised? So again, in today's world, we have these individuals called hackers who will go around and their sole focus is getting into companies' databases. And they concentrate on companies that have access to personal identifying information, names, date of birth, social security numbers, your bank account information, things to that effect, all right? Sometimes you have internal actors who are employees of different companies who are then recruited either by social media or other means, and they're paid in order to compromise your information. Sometimes, where I say don't click on links, you might get an email from pretending to be from your bank, telling you that you qualify for this $500 bonus. Click on this link. You click on that link, it'll take you to a website that looks like your bank's website. You'll enter your username and password into that website. You'll click log in and nothing will happen. You'll be on that same page. So what happens? We do it again, just because. And then you click log in again. Well, what happened was you actually just sent your username and password to the bad actor, because you're on the face of a fake Chase account, right? So that's why I say be very careful of clicking on links. And that even means on your cell phones. A lot of us don't realize that if you click on a link on your cell phone, you can get into the same issues and situations as a computer, all right? It can download a virus onto your cell phone. It can download a virus onto your computer. So be very, very careful and very cautious when you're clicking on links, all right? Of course, there's skimmers at gas stations, retail stores, and ATMs as a means of getting your credit card data. Unfortunately, we're seeing a massive increase in the last 2 years of mail theft, right? Individuals are breaking into mailboxes. We've had some cases where we've arrested postal employees with the Postal Service. It's unfortunately a very massive issue. Right now, individuals are robbing postal carriers to get the keys to be able to get into mailboxes. So that's another means. But what I say as far as checks, if you have the ability to pay your bills online through your bank, I usually suggest individuals do that, all right? It lowers the risk of you sending out a check that's then stolen in the mail, and the subject's duplicating that check and now writing fraudulent checks against your account. So if there is a means where I can stop writing checks and I can go through my online bill pay, I would suggest you do that. If you're not sure how to navigate that, again, get with one of your relatives and that knows how to work the banks and the online stuff, and have them come and help you out, right? Let's figure it out so we can reduce your exposure, basically, at that point. And then obviously there is the dark web, where unfortunately you can buy and sell tons of information by zip code, by the bank that I want to look for, by the region of the United States that I want to look for. I can even search it by first names, right? You go on, you, you get into that network and you will be appalled of the amount of things that are available when it comes down to people's names, date of birth, social security numbers, home addresses, phone numbers, and things to that effect. All right, so that's typically how your information is compromised. And these are just a couple of headlines, again, where they will attack different retail establishments to get access to information, okay? You have rewards accounts or bonus accounts at certain companies. You at least provide your name, your date of birth, your name, your address, your phone number, your email address. So if I hack into that system, that gives me a full line of that, and then I can now use that information to start working back for other information. Work on your date of birth. Where I got your date of birth, and I can start running through public databases to kind of put together a social security number. And now I can just keep going and going, and then I can apply for credit in your name. Okay. All right, and again, this is just an example. So this is a social media page. They are now using applications like Telegram and WhatsApp, where they have groups that are set up for selling stolen information. This is a social media page where they're advertising stolen checks for sale. All right, so all you do is you go to the social media page, you tell them the kind of checks you want, what banks that you're looking for, you buy in, and they'll send you all the check details and all the check data. All right, this is actually blacked out by them because, of course, I don't want to give you the goods up front. I just want to tease you with what I have available. All right, and this includes treasury checks. There are sites that they will make counterfeit treasury checks. There are places that tell you that they'll have legitimate stolen treasury checks and all kinds of things. All right. And then AI. So AI, as crazy it is becoming more prevalent within the fraud world. All right, so especially when it comes down to grandparent scams and romance scams, because I can now set it up where you believe you're speaking to a real person. You think it's a female, or you think it's this person or that person, and now you're becoming attached to this individual, and all of a sudden they have one emergency after the next emergency after the next emergency, and you being kind-hearted, you want to help them, so you start sending them money. Only at the end of this all to realize you're being scammed. Or they're trying to, hey, invest in Bitcoin, or invest in this, or I have this investment opportunity. All right, I'm gonna jump in on that. And again, I realize that you're being scammed. And the problem is you've never really seen the individual, because all you're seeing is an AI-generated face. All right, so again, they can change the voice, they can change the face. AI is becoming very prevalent. We are working now, again, to make sure we're staying ahead of and understanding that. All right, on the other block, this is a slide from a presentation I did for a prosecutor's convention, this particular slide, but I left it in there on purpose. All right, and a lot of means, in a lot of ways, when technology is moving forward and our criminals are taking that technology and leveraging it to their advantage, a lot of times law enforcement and prosecutors are behind that power curve. All right, the one good thing here is we strive to stay on target and above and in front of that power curve. We sit down on plenty of occasions and we find ourselves explaining to our prosecutors how these things occur, how it works, to get them up to speed so that way we can prosecute a case. All right, so again, that is in no short way a reflection on our command and our leadership here that allows us to make sure we hit that training. We go to that training so we can stay abreast and ahead of the power curve. Protect yourself. You are the first and the last line in many cases of defense when it comes down to being a victim of fraud, all right? Don't be nice. Don't be nice. A lot of times we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Our parents raised us to, to be nice, be courteous, be kind. This is the one time, don't be nice. If they're asking you for information and it's sensitive information, hey, I need your password, I need you to send me this code. Nah, I really don't know you. I don't know you, so I'll take your information and then I'll call back and I'll verify. Don't be nice. They will get aggressive. Why? Because I don't want you to call your bank. So they'll get aggressive. They'll tell you that you're going to lose your money. This is time sensitive. You don't understand. If you hang up now, the money might be gone by the time you get back through to a customer service rep, and they'll keep pressuring you. I'm telling you, don't be nice. Get the information and hang up. All right. Even if they don't want to give you the information, then just hang up and call your bank. Your bank keeps a log every time they reach out to you. That computer keeps a log every time you get called from one of their reps. All right? Don't trust a number you found on Google. All right, what a lot of people do not realize, just because you Google something, I can take a number, let's just say Best Buy. I can pay to have Best Buy put at the very top of your Google search list, and I can put any 800 number that I want in there. And then when you Google Best Buy customer service or Amazon customer service, the first one that pops up on the list is mine, because I've paid to put it there for the next 30 days. So you call that number now thinking you're speaking to Best Buy or Amazon, and you're really speaking to a bad actor who's going to take all your information now and then turn around and use that to compromise your identity or your accounts. Okay? So if you're talking about Amazon, go on the Amazon app and look for the customer service number outside of the Amazon app, not through Google. Your bank's the back of your debit card or credit card. Right? If I need to get in contact with Best Buy, let me find the local Best Buy store. I can call the local store at that 305 number and ask them for the corporate number. Or when I'm out later on today, I can just swing by Best Buy real fast and get that information, right? Again, we have to move a little bit wiser now in this day and age, because unfortunately the scams are everywhere, all right? Like I said, use them on the back of your card, go into your local branch. Like I think a lot of us have just gotten away from that direct interaction at our branches because life is convenient. We want life to be as convenient as possible. Well, that convenience has opened us up to being victims in a lot of different ways, because your bank wants to make everything convenient. Why? Because the customers want it to be convenient. And if I make it too difficult, my customers aren't going to come here, they're going to go to the other bank. But that convenience is a double-edged sword, right? So since your bank isn't going to stop making it convenient because they want to keep the customers coming, sometimes you're going to have to inconvenience yourself a little bit to protect yourself and your assets. Yeah. All right, like I said, don't trust your caller ID. All right, if you get a call from your bank, just take the information and call them back. And like I said, they'll always try to make everything seem real urgent. Again, we're not trying to make this long because we can be here for weeks just going over everything that's there. But the key takeaways that I really want you to remember is, one, please never give anyone remote access to your computer. Never, ever do that. All right, no bank rep, no legitimate bank rep, nor an antivirus company that's looking to give you a refund on an account is going to ask you for remote access to your computer. There is no reason they need remote access to your computer. Okay, and if they're explaining to you that you do, and even for half a second you think you might, just let them know you're going to take it to Best Buy's Geek Squad or another type place like that and go in person. Because if you give me remote access to your system, you have no way of guaranteeing that you've terminated my remote access. And I can log back into that computer whenever I want. And now you're going to have a lot of issues and a lot of problems. Okay? So just please make sure you take the time, double check things, don't trust people. It's okay to not be nice when you're working on protecting your identity. All right? If you do have questions, you have something that pops up, you can feel free to give us a call or send us an email. I'll tell you right now, we are unfortunately busy, so we do hop around a lot, and we're not always at our desk. As much as we have to type paperwork, we're just not always at the desk. But if you don't get us on the phone, send us an email. We will normally try to reply within 24 hours. Okay? That's all I have. If anybody has any direct questions, or if you... Sorry, yes, ma'am.
Would the police department ever call asking for money for a fundraiser? Because I've gotten that phone call, and it's like, it's Officer Hannigan from Aventura Police Department with, money for a fundraiser, and can you give me a credit card over the phone?
No. So I'll tell you what, our agency does not do over-the-phone fundraisers, right? So we would typically engage our businesses, our marketing council, and things like that for any fundraiser type efforts that we're going to look at doing. But I'll also tell you for sure, we're not asking for any credit card or any bank account or direct deposit information over the phone. There are third-party companies for other places that may utilize, like for a highway patrol's name or their logo to do it. Again, I don't do it.
Wouldn't trust
If
it.
you want to donate, then by all means, you can go to a local FHP location, you go to your local police department and donate directly. You need to protect your information, because not only do I not know who this is, and even if it's legitimate, if they're working for a third-party company, as I said, sometimes people are recruited who work for other companies. So they're taking that information and they can always give it and sell it, okay?
I'm like, I can't talk to you.
Then that right there will definitely tell you it's not a police department.
I'm so sorry, officer, but I can't talk to you.
Yeah. Yep, just hang it up, trust me, ma'am.
Do you find that monitoring services like LifeLock help?
So they do. I'm sorry? Oh,
Monitoring services like LifeLock, I asked if they, monitoring services like LifeLock help.
so a lot of times when individuals first become a victim of fraud, a lot of them will typically hire or engage a company like LifeLock. There are several of them out there in order to monitor their credit and things to that effect, and they are effective. Some of those companies will tell you afterwards, some like, hey, 2 days ago, your credit was run. Some of those companies are more instantaneous to tell you about it. But what we do see and the way our subjects get around that is we've seen our subjects, they will use your information today, okay? And then I try to use it next week or next month, and you have it blocked. I take your information and I put it in a storage unit, or I put it somewhere and I wait and I mark the box, and we've seen this, 18 months. So I know to come back in a year and a half, because chances are if you have not had anything happen in the last year and a half, you're gonna decide it's not worth paying for that service anymore. And you're gonna stop paying for it, and then I get another crack at you again, a year and a half down the line. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What about when you go to a doctor's office and they ask all this information? I won't give my date of birth and I won't give any information that I'm not comfortable with.
So there's that's a dual-edged sword type of situation, right? So the reason why your doctor's office asks for certain information, which is their personal identifying information, most of the time, it's because of the insurance, right? When we have that data, we have to then be able to prove to the insurance if there's a question of services that you're the one we provided that service to. So they utilize that information, same thing with the dentist office, to be able to track that. Some doctor's offices will work with you. Some will tell you because of billing purposes, if you're not willing to provide your information, then they won't provide you the service.
If you go in and they're strangers, you don't know who they are, especially on your first visit.
No, I 1,000% agree with you. When I was,
I won't give my date, I will give the month and the day, but I won't give you, let me guess.
well, I mean,
I won't give anything. I mean, I don't bank online, that's what I'm trying to protect myself.
oh, definitely. Like I said, just keep in mind that I think the majority of doctor's offices will work with you, but just understand that if they choose to refuse services because they don't have complete information, that they are within their right to do that. And again, that's typically because of an insurance billing situation.
So when you give your insurance card, with Medicare, supplement, whatever, isn't that enough not to put your birth date down on the form?
Again, that's up to an individual office. Like, there's no way we would be able to tell them what is enough for their office. For instance, you go to a store and you present your credit card for payment, right? Most people would say, you swipe my credit card, that should be enough to prove it was me. But now when you have the fraud report come back in, right? The bank is gonna turn around and now start looking at, can I prove it was my card holder, or was it actually somebody else? So just by simply saying they had the card may not be enough, which is why people say, I want to see an ID that matches that card. So again, companies have the right to put in extra layers of protection for them, because if I give somebody services, which we have happen at the ER several times a year, I go in and say, hey, she goes and says, I'm Ken Seeley. And then she gives my information and she receives services. It's not me, but my insurance gets billed for it. Now, the hospital can actually take that financial loss because they failed to verify who she really is. So, or she gave a date of birth that's off by 5 days. Well, they should have caught that. And now the insurance doesn't pay out. Services were given, but the hospital's out money. So that's why certain places have different requirements in place. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
The only thing, I always tell all of my clients, use your phone to get alerts on bank accounts and credit cards. Anytime you charge, anytime you do a transaction, you can always have an alert on your phone. So you always know what's going on. You can get an email. If you do that, which I do on all of my accounts, I don't use that in credit cards. I also tell everybody, if you have credit cards you're not using, get rid of the cards. And so you need to monitor today to know what's going on. Too many people don't monitor. They don't monitor their bank account and they don't monitor their credit card charges. And what happens is they're scanned. They don't even know it's going. It's right in front of them. They don't even know it's that. Everybody should get it on their phone.
And that's a fact. We've had people come in 8 months later and say, hey, I didn't realize it, but from January all the way to June, I have all these charges on my account that aren't mine, right? The banks typically will tell you have 6 months to report fraud activity in your account. And if it's past that 6-month period, they're not responsible for it. And then one other note, give me 1 second, man. One other note is a lot of credit card companies and even most banks now allow you to pause your debit card through their applications. So you can go in the app, and if it's a lot of cards that you don't use because you have multiple accounts, but this is my favorite one because it gives me the best points, then go ahead and pause all your other cards. No transactions can occur until you go back in the app and you unpause it, and it's instantaneous. So it's not like I have to worry about, oh, I gotta wait a couple of minutes if I wanna do a transaction. No, instantaneous. Pause it, okay, now lock it, unlock it, lock it, unlock it. You can sit there and just play with your phone, right? And you can use it but it protects you from that situation of all of a sudden I got a bunch of transactions that I don't know. Yeah, you had something back there, ma'am?
By the way, everybody tells you, I'm a CPA, everybody tells you, all the seminars I've gone to, do not use the debit card.
So the biggest difference, obviously, in the debit card and a credit card is a credit card's the bank's money up front until you pay them back. The debit card is your hard money, right? So if anything, your debit card gets compromised, and the problem you have is your hard money is going out the door right now.
Right.
Right? Where if it's a credit card compromised, hey, I can call the bank, it's not my hard money out the door. And while they go through their process of figuring out if they're gonna give me my credit back, I'm not out money, and I still have money to work with. Okay?
Is a bit more federal law actually gives you rights under credit cards to get that money back if you report within 30 days inside the US, 90 days outside of the US. Debit cards do not have that protection under federal law.
Right, that is definitely true. Again, the banks have to give it back to you at least on a provisionary credit while they're doing their internal investigation. Yes, ma'am.
You just mentioned it, the blocking and unblocking. That's what I do. I go shopping and unblock it, and I'm done at block it, right? And I have to be careful with no subscription. You know, that might be.
Right, and that's, look, I tell a lot of people, like how my family does it too, is, or at least my kids that are grown, all your subscriptions to one credit card, let it run to that credit card, and everything else I know I block, so my subscriptions will always get paid, but I know I'm monitoring that card, so if something happens, I can stop it real quick. You had something, ma'am?
Is it safer to use the tap with the credit card than the actual?
It is way safer to use the tap, okay? So when you go to a store, you have the option, obviously now, of either sliding your card, inserting the chip, or tapping it onto the top of the terminal. All right, the tap on top of the terminal is typically your most secure method because it transmits everything via encryption. The chip as well transmits everything via encryption. If you were to swipe the card, it actually captures your actual account number. So now you have a position where that account number can be compromised. But the other two methods, the account number is never transmitted. It's actually an encrypted number. So the retailer never sees it, the credit card processor never sees it. The bank is the only one that has the ability to attach that encrypted number to an actual account to remove the money from that account. Okay? Yes, sir.
With technology advancing every day, regarding the dark web, is there a way of protecting myself, getting my information right on the dark web? Or is it right there? Is there something I can do to like?
So unfortunately, typically, if your information has been compromised at some point, there's a decent chance it's on the dark web. There are companies that scour the dark web to see if it's out there. LifeLock and a couple of the other companies like that, they offer that. I think like Discover Card offers it now as well. But they're basically just giving you an alert that it's there. They don't have the ability to fully remove it because unfortunately information is tend to be sold and resold and resold. So if it's out there, it's one of those situations where I have to now just keep an eye on my credit reports, keep an eye on my identity and make sure that nothing out there, is going crazy. If you live, at least in Miami-Dade or Broward County, you own a home, I would definitely say contact the property appraiser's office or go to their website. A lot of them now have a system where you get an email or you'll get a phone call if anyone tries to update any ownership documents or deed information related to your property. All right, because unfortunately, people do try to steal people's property as well. So the county appraiser's office have now come up with new services to alert you to that. Because if that happens, that process of getting your property back, it's a costly and arduous process, even if law enforcement's involved. So you just have to be more vigilant, unfortunately, if you're compromised. Yes. So, but again, I always say when it comes to especially something like real property, just get registered with your property appraiser's office so that way they can let you know if anything's happening or attempting to be happening with your property. Good. Yes, ma'am.
I got a text about an unpaid parking ticket and then click the link to pay. Would that ever happen?
It can definitely, as far as getting a text message to pay, no. Normally, you're not going to get a text message telling you to pay a parking ticket, right?
It's a letter.
You're going to get a letter. Again, you're not going to get an email because then how would they even have your email to email you, right? So same thing with a text. How are they going to have your phone number typically? If it's a parking ticket, usually your car is unattended, right? If you are being told you might have a parking ticket, then you can go on the county clerk's office website, Miami-Dade County Clerks, and you can put in your driver's license number and it'll tell you if you have anything that's outstanding, right? And then if you do, then I address and I deal with that outstanding issue. But if I see nothing that's outstanding and you've been able to perfectly fine renew your registration, chances are you don't have anything that's outstanding.
They would never send a text, like,
No, ma'am. Because again,
it scared me for a little bit, and then I'm like,
no, and unfortunately, there are private companies that run private lots and do the ticket scams. So they will try to identify individuals and get phone numbers and send it out. But those are private companies. They typically are not authorized in the state of Florida to issue out citations or violations. So that's not something that you would be required to make payments on.
because it did say if you don't pay, we're gonna send a search warrant, like a scary.
Right,
So,
yeah, and again, you're not gonna see anything in any real government communication that's threatening. You're not. It might warn you that, hey, heads up, if you don't take care of this, then you may have to go to court in front of a judge or whatever the case may be, but it's not gonna be threatening language. Okay, you had something, sir?
I've seen spoofing in emails where people claim to be friends of yours and need money, so just as much as telephone numbers can be spoofed on caller ID, so can email addresses be spoofed as well. So you can see that you're getting a request from a friend for money and it's not really coming from.
Yes, definitely, and people will take over like social media accounts, a Facebook account or Instagram account, and then they'll start sending out messages pretending to be the owner of the account. Hey, I'm in a bind, I'm stuck here, I got a flat tire, I need $100, and they'll send that out to multiple people to see who's gonna turn around and help them out and send money back to whatever phone number that they told them to cash app it to. Yes, ma'am.
My husband got a scam saying that our son was from jail, he was some money. My husband went, because he knew it was, scam, he said, well, keep him there.
Smart.
Look, the one thing we always say is if you get calls like that, again, hang up and call that family member who's supposedly in trouble. You're going to see them answer the phone, right? And again, that's why I make it seem like it's really urgent. I try to keep you on the phone. We've had victims who stayed on the phone for 45 minutes, driving from bank to bank, getting money out, taking it to crypto ATM machines, depositing money, or this one is not working, we'll go to this other ATM machine. No one who's legitimate is going to tell you to go to an ATM machine and deposit money into a crypto ATM machine. All right? Yes, ma'am.
So we had experience with a friend that passed, the person who's deceased, the identity was compromised. Perhaps you can share some tips on how to handle a deceased loved one's information so that that doesn't happen to someone else.
So in instances where unfortunately a loved one has passed, the quickest thing that you want to do is start notifying the financial institutions, your banks, your accounts, anything that they're attached to, that this has occurred. Typically, the medical examiner's office in the county that the death occurred will notify the Department of Motor Vehicles. I say that there's nothing wrong with you turning around and notifying them as well. The reason being is once you notify the Department of Motor Vehicles, the Department of Motor Vehicles places a note in the system, and they also notify Social Security. All right, so then Social Security now knows, and they put a note attached to that Social Security number. So if anyone's trying to open up new accounts or run it, it's going to show that that individual is deceased. The faster you notify the banks, then they can update their system. So if anyone's trying to call in to pretend to be them to access the accounts, the bank sees the flag. Now, is that 100% guaranteed to work when it comes down to the banks? No. Again, unfortunately, in the search site investigation, we would have family members call the banks and the credit card companies saying, hey, this person's deceased. They would shut the account down. Our subject would call back the next day, pretending to be the deceased individual, start yelling at them, hey, my building just collapsed. I really need my access to my account. I got to be able to get my money. Again, the person on the phone feels bad, right? I feel bad because what if this really is that person? And what is this? So they reactivated the accounts. And we had victims that went through this 4 or 5 times, shutting the accounts back down, reactivating accounts, shutting them down, reactivating the accounts. So unfortunately, again, it's not 100%, but if you start taking those steps, you can limit the risk, the loss. And because I have told the bank, whatever loss may occur in that period of time is going to be absorbed by the bank because they were notified of this in a timely manner. And it was their rep who kept opening the account up and giving access. Okay. Yeah. Again, folks, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for all the questions.
Thank you.
And if you need us, you can reach out to us. Okay? Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you.